Hey everyone, welcome back to Fix and Cruise. Is your car suddenly thirsty for oil, even though there are no puddles on your driveway? If you're seeing a puff of blue smoke at startup or feeling a rough idle, you aren't just dealing with age, you're likely facing an internal oil leak. Today, we're analyzing why your engine might be eating itself from the inside out. We'll look at everything from the simple PCV valve to the dreaded worn piston rings. Understanding these symptoms early can save you thousands in engine rebuild costs. Let's dive into the mechanics of why oil belongs in your pan, not your combustion chamber.
Are you experiencing increased oil consumption? Or maybe you see light blue smoke coming out of the exhaust? Looks like your car could have an internal oil leak. Some other symptoms to look out for are unpleasant smells or oil traces in the tailpipe. Burning oil can also foul the spark plugs, resulting in misfires, rough idling, and poor engine performance. So let's get straight into the video. Let's start with the least expensive and most overlooked cause, the PCV valve. The whole purpose of the PCV valve is to recirculate harmful gases from the crankcase into the intake manifold. These gases mix with the air-fuel mixture and get burned off in the combustion process. If the PCV valve gets stuck open, vapors and excess oil will be drawn from the crankcase and enter the combustion chamber. This will result in oil being burned off along with fuel during combustion. The PCV valve should be replaced every 50,000 miles, but this can vary from car to car. The second cause is bad piston rings. When the piston rings wear out, it creates a bigger gap between the cylinder wall and the rings. This allows for more oil to pass through and enter the combustion chamber. In addition, if the oil is not changed regularly, it can cause the piston rings to stick, leading to increased clearance in the cylinder. This too results in the engine oil escaping from the crankcase and into the combustion chamber. This can be prevented by regularly changing the oil. The third cause is damaged or worn cylinder walls. This can happen due to poor oil lubrication or contaminants in the engine oil, such as dirt or debris, and in worse situations, an overheated engine. When they get damaged, it creates an increased clearance between the walls and the piston rings. This clearance allows oil to pass through the gap and enter the combustion chamber during engine operation. Once inside the combustion chamber, the oil mixes with the fuel and air and gets burned off. The next cause of burning oil is faulty valve stem seals. Gradually, they can begin to deteriorate, causing oil leakage into the combustion chamber. The last cause of burning oil is only applied to vehicles with turbochargers. Inside the turbo, there are seals that help prevent oil leakage. If they get worn out, the oil will escape, resulting in the oil going into the intake system and entering the combustion chamber.
Alright, let's break down what we just saw because that was a lot of technical info to digest. First off, can we talk about how sneaky internal leaks are? Unlike a leaky gasket that leaves a mess on the floor, internal leaks are silent because the oil is being burned off during the combustion cycle. The video mentioned the PCV valve as the most overlooked culprit. For those who don't know, PCV stands for positive crankcase ventilation. Think of it as the engine's respiratory system. It's supposed to recirculate gases, but when it gets stuck open, it acts like a straw, sucking engine oil directly into the intake manifold. The best part? It's usually a $20 part you can replace yourself. If you're lucky, that's all that's wrong. But then we get into the heavy hitters, piston rings and cylinder walls. Imagine your piston is a plunger in a syringe. The rings are the rubber seal that keeps the liquid from moving past. When those rings wear down or, even worse, the cylinder walls get scratched from dirt or overheating, that seal is broken. Now, every time that piston moves up and down, it's leaving a film of oil behind that gets vaporized by the spark plug. This is why you see that blue smoke. It's literally the smell of your engine's lifeblood being incinerated. We also saw valve stem seals. These are like little umbrellas at the top of your engine. They keep the oil that lubricates the camshafts from dripping down into the cylinders. If your car smokes mostly when you first start it up after sitting overnight, these seals are usually the prime suspect. Oil pools on top of them while the car is off, seeps past the worn rubber, and greets you with a cloud of blue smoke the next morning. And for my turbo owners out there, the video hit the nail on the head. Turbos spin at incredible speeds, sometimes over 100,000 revolutions per minute. They rely on high-pressure oil for cooling and lubrication. If those internal turbo seals fail, the oil gets pumped straight into the intake or the red-hot exhaust. It's a recipe for a massive smoke show and a very expensive repair bill. The takeaway here is that oil consumption isn't just an old car thing. It's a symptom of a mechanical seal failing somewhere deep inside. If you're adding a quart every few hundred miles, your engine is trying to tell you something. Now, for my critical take on this issue. While the video does an excellent job of identifying the what, we need to talk about the why behind modern engine failures. We are currently living in an era of low-tension piston rings. Manufacturers use these to reduce friction and eke out every last bit of fuel economy to meet government standards. However, the trade-off is that these rings are much more sensitive to carbon buildup. When you follow those extended oil change intervals, you know, the ones that say you can go 10,000 or 15,000 miles, you are practically inviting these internal leaks to happen. The oil breaks down, turns into a varnish-like sludge, and causes those thin rings to stick. Once they stick, the oil consumption starts, and it's a downward spiral. I believe we are seeing a massive disconnect between engineering goals and real-world longevity. We're trading the long-term health of the engine for a 1% increase in miles per gallon. Furthermore, I want to challenge the idea that these problems are always just age. Often, internal oil leaks are the result of poor air filtration or cooling system neglect. A single overheating event can lose the temper of your piston rings, meaning they lose their springiness and stop sealing. Similarly, a cheap, low-quality air filter can allow microscopic dust into the cylinders, which acts like sandpaper on those delicate cylinder walls. The psychological impact on the car owner is also huge. Once a car starts burning oil, many people just start buying the cheapest oil possible and topping it off. This is a band-aid on a bullet wound. Burning oil ruins your catalytic converter, which is an incredibly expensive part filled with precious metals, and fouls your oxygen sensors. By trying to save money on a repair, you're actually destroying the entire emissions system of the vehicle. In my professional opinion, the disposable car culture has made us far too comfortable with these types of failures. We need to go back to the basics. High-quality synthetic oil, changed every 5,000 miles regardless of what the dashboard says, and using only OEM quality filters. Prevention is the only real cure for internal oil leaks, because once the metal is worn or the seals are brittle, there is no magic liquid in a bottle that is going to truly fix it. You're looking at a teardown, and in today's economy, that often means the end of the road for the vehicle. That's it for today's deep dive. If you found this analysis helpful, do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to Fix and Cruise. It helps us keep the lights on and the wrenches turning. Have you dealt with a ghost oil leak? Drop a comment below and tell us how you fixed it, or if it broke the bank. Keep an eye on those dipsticks, and as always, keep cruising. See you in the next one.